Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's match between Oscredwin and Zyrak here at the table stage of the Highway to the Threemus Zone. My name is Smithy, and I am so happy to be here today bringing you this match alongside our Restreamer Leggy Scar stream. We've got Microcorgs working the tracking, and in the commentary booth with me tonight is the legendary Rex Roll. Rex, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful, Smitey, and I'm really looking forward to another table race. These table flags have really been something else, and it's been really fun to see the difference that we're in this table flag set than we've seen so much in those group flag sets.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things about these table flag sets are the party dynamics. How you have to have a good mind about how you're crafting your party to not only function in the short term, but the long term as well. Once you've brought a character on board, they are there for good. And speaking of which, looks like we've got a mandatory Cecil here tonight.
Yeah, that's going to throw some kinks in the agility, but both runners are going to have to deal with that. And we're going to see if they end up going the same tactics or if they decide to go two different routes. Speaking of our runners, we've got Oscredwin at 0-0 in this table stage of the event, and Zyrak unfortunately took a loss to Dusty Griff earlier. So one thing that's also interesting is Oscredwin went 3-0 with the direct advance, whereas Zyrak had to battle through that magma. That might make Zyrak a little hungrier, but I don't know. Either way, we've got a really exciting match to look forward to today.
Yeah, because of that, it's been a while since we've had Oscredwin up here, so maybe there'll be some rust, or maybe he's had plenty of time to practice. We'll know in a few minutes here. Some interesting objectives here. We've got some defeat the boss of the Baron Inn, one of those overworld objectives that is going to be largely easy to complete, while the others are going to require a little bit of key item hunting. What are kind of your thoughts on looking at these objectives, Rex?
Well, I think that most of these, it's going to come down, I think, to that Baron Castle Basement Throne versus the Legend Sword and Adamant. If you're lucky enough to find those pieces of the Excalibur, then you'd be in good shape there. Otherwise, if you get that Baron key, all you need is levels in order to take out that boss at the bottom. So we could just need underground access, moon access, and a Baron key, and then we're good to go, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And a special incentive for hunting down the Legend Sword and the Adamant is, of course, we mentioned that forced Cecil. If our runners want to try to make long-term use of that Cecil, getting an Excalibur in their pocket would be a great way towards achieving that, especially since we're on that T-Pro flag set where some of the high-tier items that were maybe a little more abundant in previous stages of this tournament, not going to see as many of them this time.
This is one of these objective lists that we see here, where it could be a really quick game depending on where you're able to find those key items, and it could be really trolly if they're hiding in tough places, if it's a tough hook route. There's a number of things that could still throw obstacles, but it looks like we're off, and the second character is going to be a Yang. So far, it seems like most characters have been just ditching the first character, waiting to see who's available before committing to anybody.
Yeah, and just as you mentioned, Oscredwin's going to be leaving Yang behind. Very difficult to blame him for that. Yang is a character that really doesn't shine until the end game. It's very limited usefulness early on, and at that point, you're probably going to have better options available. But Yang, that doesn't mean he'll be behind. If he's looking for a fifth character at some point, can go pick him up and slingshot him if that ends up being something that would be advantageous for runners. That's on the table.
Another thing is if you're able to find some of the elemental claws early and you don't have a lot of other good offensive options, that's something that you can do in a pinch. I think with the free characters, it's more unlikely that that's going to come up, but it's still something that's out there. One character that our runners are probably going to look for because of that starting Mazabune item is going to be the Ninja Edge, but I believe you've got to get a gated character check in order to find him with this flag set. Is that right, Snapey, or am I wrong?
I believe that you're correct there. I don't have the exact flag set up ahead of me, but I believe the more difficult character, more powerful characters, I should say, Edge and Fusoya, who's not available in this tournament, would be behind at least one key item deep to make them a little more difficult to come across. We do have, I believe, that is Porum, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, and we saw another Cecil in the Baron Inn.
But yeah, one of the issues with taking that edge is it can be difficult to get him to scale well into the end game. If you can't find any good hardware for him, he's fantastic when you first pick him up, but his damage can really start to trail off if you can't find any of those high-tier katanas. With that hardware available right from the get-go, from the start, yeah, that's going to make Edge a very, very attractive pickup here. There's Rosa in the Watery Pass. You'll love to see that.
Yeah, I think with seeing Rosa here means it looks like Oscredwin had already decided to take Porum, like didn't want to take chances and get that white mage. And so now it's kind of awkward to see Rosa. In a lot of respects, she's better than Porum. However, do you want to commit to having 2 white wizards on your team?
Yeah, it's a little bit redundant. A lot of what you want from a white mage can be done with just a single white mage. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world to have 2 of them, but late game, you're not going to need that much healing. You would probably be relegating one of your white mages to offensive duty with the white spell. So it's not an ideal setup, but it's not the worst thing in the world either.
I might have been wrong, but I think Zyrak sold that Masamune, so he might not want a ninja at all.
Yeah, not a terrible move. Might be thinking, I want this money early so I can get these items that I need. I'll make do with the characters that I can find. Since Edge is going to be at least 1 key item deep, we're not going to get him immediately here. So, holding on to all of that cash in the hopes that you do find an Edge later might be a little more risky of a move than Zyrak is prepared to take here. That's Tella, though. That is a very, very useful pickup there.
Tella generally considered, I think, in this flag set to be the key party member. Whether or not you get Tella, a lot of your grind options change a lot, whether or not Tella's on the team. And it's often in your favor to have Tella in your team for that.
Yeah, just his absurd spell list access with no Fusoya available. Tella is sort of filling in that role. And even if Fusoya was available, Tella has much easier access to his full spell list, only needing to complete ordeals rather than having to be powered up boss after boss after boss. A lot of runners really like to see Tella here. Radiant and Damsian probably not going to be as valuable.
Question in the chat from James Borg 99. Does Tella get more than 90 MP in free enterprise? Not really. He doesn't gain any MP from leveling. There is an item called a Soma Drop, which you could find in a chest, and that will add 10 MP to his maximum. But barring that, he's stuck at 90. But Tella can do a lot with those 90 MP. It looks like Oscar's going to make the play to climb Mount Hobbs. Just wants to get a real full list of what characters are available at this point. Oh, and we see Sid up at the top of Mount Hobbs. And probably the more important reason to check this is going to be that Misk.
Yeah, that is a good find early on. That is going to be an extra key item check, the bonus round, as it were. The early game here in the overworld, there are sort of limited as far as key item checks. This adds an extra one in there, extra chance to grab some useful things and possibly get that easy magma key access to the underworld.
I kind of like this play of taking Sid here too from Oscar. This is going to be like you might be sacrificing a little bit of power in the end part of the game, but you're making up for it with more power now. It is interesting that it seems like he's being a little bit more decisive and I want to take these characters rather than Zyrak, who's took that Tella, but other than that has been very conservative, hasn't taken either of the white wizards that we saw Oscredwin take up.
Yeah, I really like Sid in this flag set. He becomes a very useful powerhouse early on with the damage he can put out. Once you get into the mid-game and the underground, that damage is going to start to taper off, but he still has an enormous amount of bulk, lots of HP, generally goes slow enough that he's going to let the other characters take a turn first and can throw an item out if need be, and he makes a fantastic agility anchor for the late game. Now, that's not going to be a factor here since Cecil is a guaranteed part of the party. But even still, Sid can certainly contribute more than I think people give him credit for.
And I think that's one of the things that makes him a little bit awkward in this flag set, but I still kind of like him. We don't have a lot of like powerful offense on this team at this point. The other option would be to try to get Rydia from where we saw her in Damsian, have her learn the free summon, try to power her up a little bit to do that damage that way. But then the risk, if you don't end up with a summon off of Mount Hobbs, you could be even less powerful than you are with Sid.
Yeah, right, you are. I think probably one of the better uses of Rydia would be to hold off on her as long as possible in order to try to slingshot her up.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's the traditional way. I think this seed in particular, there's an argument for going the other way, but I think in general, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Especially if you can find that Sylph spell early on, it's really difficult to overestimate how useful that can be in the early going, even into the mid game. It scales pretty well. It's your all-in-one damage and healing button, just a really useful spell.
And it looks like Zyrak is going to take on that Mist Dragon. Now we'll see if he decides to add Sid to the team as well. That was fast. Was wait till the battle.
And he does as well.
Yeah. Yeah, getting that damage boost from the Sid, who's at a relatively high level, is pretty nice at this part of the game. Like these battles here, like in Antlion, in Hobbs, in the Fabul defense, and even like Mount Ordeals, could be real long slog fest with this team without Sid's hammer.
Yeah, especially since we know that one of the objectives is liberating Baron. And we've got good old Dr. Lugai in there. So if we do have an early Baron key, Sid can really mop that fight up easily with his hammers and the bonus damage they get against machines.
With mopping up, we see Sid over on Oscredwin's side had found that Earth Hammer, being able to use that as an item for a low-level Quake, enough to take out all the gas in this Mylon and Friends fight down at the bottom of Antlion.
Yeah, that is a wonderful pickup early on when reliable AoE damage can be at a premium. Being able to have access to that nice little Quake effect is a fantastic perk of Sid here. And you can also see that the Earth Hammer does fire damage, so doing a ton of damage to Mylon there, who takes the weakness from it.
Also, that Oscredwin had immediately moved Sid to the center position, getting that extra hit percent on the character who's got the best offense there. It's just a slight little optimization play that you'll see runners make. You want to make sure that your best character is doing the most damage. At this point in the game, putting whoever is your big damage dealer in the middle is going to be the way to do that.
Yeah, most certainly. And it's just generally good practice as well, since Sid's axes tend to have a little bit of a shaky hit rate.
Yeah, if we switch to like a poison X or something, it becomes very unreliable if he's not in the middle position for that boost. It looks like Oscar's heading over to Kaipo to do a little bit of shopping here. If in this flag set, Smatey, are there pieces of equipment that you're looking for in the overworld shops?
Let's see. I off the top of my head, I would be thinking, Sid's already got that Earth Hammer. I doubt we're going to find too much better in the overworld shops for Sid right now. Other characters, equipment's not going to be as important at the moment. I'd obviously have my eyes open for a cursed ring whenever I could find one. I'm not sure that can appear in overworld or item shops. It might be gated to the underworld. I'm not 100% on that. But yeah,
one string is gated in its pro.
Then yeah, it would be more the underworld shops that I would be more looking towards. I think that's when you can start getting your ogre axes, which is arguably going to be your best bet for Sid to do damage. Of course, that's going to be about the time where Sid's damage is going to start falling off, but that might still be your most reliable option for damage given the characters we've seen so far.
See both of the characters doing a little shopping, but in Mist, you also get to check Rydia's mom, and you get rewarded with a silent staff. Well, for Oscar having 2 white mages in the team, that's going to be a good end game piece of equipment. However, not progression that you're looking for.
Yeah,
Zyrak,
I definitely don't hate to see it, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate to see that either. It's the as far as like the white magic boost, it's the second best stat in the game. I think it's the best stat for raw attack power, but you'd only probably swing it if you are going to take advantage of the ×4 against mage type enemies. And oftentimes, white mages have a better option at that if they found an elven bow or mute arrows. But
yeah,
it could do it in a pinch.
Right, you are. A little bit of an unorthodox play we see here on Zyrak's side. Went ahead and fought Bahamut at the mist spot, and is going to loot out a little bit of Mist Cave. Gets a wizard robe in the first chest. Next one's got a big bomb, so maybe not the biggest payoff, but not terrible loot.
Yeah, I wonder if Zyrak is thinking that his equipment or something is just really weak, like his overall power level might be a little bit too low, and just wants to eke out any sort of advantage that he can get with his characters right now. And that big bomb could definitely help win a fight on Mount Ordeals or Fabul or something like that.
Yeah, those never underestimate the power of those consumables early. Oh, goodness gracious, that's Ogopogo here. Now, the good news is that this isn't the first spot. This spot only has 400 HP, so if you're going to run into Ogopogo somewhere in the overworld, this is probably the best place to do it. It does mean you're going to be going into the second fight at half HP on all your characters, which can be a little bit dicey.
Yeah, depending on who that second boss is, this could be very scary here.
And Zyrak right on Oscredwin's heels here going into that fight. And Antlion, this could be a very punchy spot. We'll see what kind of damage is going out, but this might be a little scary.
Yeah, especially since Sid can only really do serious damage with the fight command, which means he has to use fight, which means that counter is going to come, and that's going to be nasty. He does have access to some good defensive gear. I believe there was some either like a samurai or dragoon gauntlet that he's got access to, but still, like the damage output that Sid's doing here is going to be pretty rough.
Yeah, I just do not like the way these numbers are rolling out here for Oscredwin. I'm not sure that this is going to be easily doable here. I mean, he could throw cures out with Sid now, but yeah, he's just going to be taking in more damage than he's putting out. He's got 4,000 HP he needs to get through here. I just don't see this working out here.
Now, Zyrak does have Blink with Tella to help with the defense in this fight. However, the Blink does not protect against the counter horn. So if you're still... And the same problem is here. The biggest damage output that you can do with this team is Sid swinging his hammer. And that's not doing a whole lot of damage at this spot in order to outpace Antlion punching you down.
Yeah, guys, the only thing I can think of to try to get through this at this point would be maybe to blink up with Tella and then just use the Earth Hammer as an item, and that would avoid the counterattacks, but boy, that would take a long time to get through.
Yeah, that's a real slow fight right there. It might be better to just complete like Fabul and Ordeals and just get those extra levels and see if that's enough to help you push the damage through. You might have some more abilities there. You have spells on Tella. You've got a little bit more options of what you can do if you hold off till later. I mean, it's worth trying because that could be a big thing if you're able to defeat Baron in early. And I know that if you've got the capability of doing it, it's something that runners really like to do. I know I like to.
Oh, absolutely. It's an objective, it's key item check, and you get a character too. Maybe not the character our runners are thinking about recruiting, though. Edward's an interesting character, and these would certainly be the caliber of players that could get the most out of him, but when he's taking a permanent spot for the entire game, that can be a hard sell.
It's like some charm arrows being picked up by Oscredwin in Toria's weapon shop as the shopping spree continues. Meanwhile, Zyrak now taking his dive into the Antlion Cave.
And Oscredwin's going to check out Mount Ordeals here, see if this is a little bit easier to deal with. because so far this has been a pretty rough early game in this seed.
And also, he's going to have access to that Tela. It was pretty much an easy choice when Zyrek had that option. For Oscredwin, this would be the fifth and final character. Would you take Tela at this point? Is he worth that much?
Oscredwin, putting him aside, I can't say I disagree with that play. Like you said, this would be the fifth and final character. Tela opens so many doors, but you if that's your team, then your only major source of damage output going into the endgame is Cecil, and that's assuming you find a good sword for him. So I think Oscredwin just has to hold out for something a little bit better.
Right. I think if you get a Excalibur or Crystal Sword, then you might go back to Mysidia, because with this flag set, you're actually able, anyone that you just miss outright when you have the option to take them are hanging out in the Tower of Wishes in Mysidia, so you could go back and pick up anybody that they've passed up on earlier. Just once they enter the party, you can't let them go after that. So Tela is still somebody that Oscar could pick up later. And so if he ends up finding like a Crystal Sword or an Excalibur, then suddenly it's more like, hey, now I've got a source of a lot of damage, so maybe I go ahead and level up through the D machine that I'm able to do because of Tela.
Yeah, right you are. There's really not an enormously pressing need to put Tela into your party right now. So I think it's a very smart decision here from Oscredwin to keep that fifth position open, keep your options on the table, see what the rest of the seed deals you before you decide whether you want to have him take that fifth spot or not.
And if he still has that Mazabune, he might be holding out if he sees that ninja too.
Yeah, that is also a distinct possibility. We know Zyrek sold it. I don't know that Oscredwin has. I haven't seen him sell it, but yeah, there's a very real possibility he could still have that in his inventory. Now, the nice thing about this Dark Imps fight being here is you did get the life glitch on two of them, so he's going to get a nice increase in the experience there, get a few more levels on his characters, which is very, very much appreciated in what is turning out to be a very challenging overworld.
Especially getting the levels on that Rosa is real nice. And we've got another opportunity for more experience here as we get the alternate Fabul Gauntlet in the Mylon Z spot.
Yeah, this is the very definition of slog here. This is the back attack spot, so all of the enemy formations are going to be taking turns before the players do, and depending on speed, might even be able to get 2 turns in before your characters can even act. But we'll be getting the experience from every single one of these fights, and the experience on Mount Ordeals isn't bad, since I think this also gives you one of the Lamia formations, if I'm not mistaken, which is worth, I think, one of the highest XP values on the overworld.
I think you're right there, Smipey. So might be leaning on that Earth Hammer from Sid again, because we don't have a whole lot of ways to do AoE with this team. So gonna use what you have, and that Earth Hammer is definitely what you have there.
Yeah, the Earth Hammer is what's going to take this from unbearable to slightly bearable. Without any kind of reliable AoE damage, yeah, this would be even more of a Myrus slog than it already is. But thankfully, got that Earth Hammer. Just got to wait for Sid's turn to come around each turn, and he should be able to wipe out each of these formations.
Or at least put them so that they could just be one-shotted with Cecil or Rosa afterwards.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Ooh, we see Star Veils are available in the Fabul shop. That is good to find.
Yeah, we get a starter kit, which gives us a few Star Veils, but generally it's enough to get you through the overworld, but you're going to want a few more, depending on what bosses. If you end up fighting Bulbaz, or you end up fighting Wyvern, or certain other places that you just wish to have that Star Veil available. Threemus, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the Pain Man. Dark Knight Cecil is hanging out at the Fabul defense mission. Not going to be difficult by any stretch of the imagination here, with Sid's beefy 800 plus hit points. He's easily able to tank 3 of those hits. Just a matter of keeping the rest of your characters up so that they're getting the experience as well. Looks like Zyrek has queued up the potions he needs to make that happen, and is going to be through this fight, and we'll see if the King of Fabul has got anything interesting for us today.
Yeah, I think it's mostly important. He was only cared about healing up Rosa, because once you complete Mount Ordeals, Cecil reverts to level 1, and Tella, he doesn't really need levels in order for him to be useful.
Yeah, one might argue Tella is more useful at initial level than he is at any higher level.
If Cecil wasn't in the party, I'd say yeah. The extra HP he gets is actually not that bad on leveling up Tella with this formation. And we get the Magma Key for completing that full defense. Now we've got access to the Underworld. And we're going to see if Zyrek still prioritizes Ordeals next, or decides to head right to the Underground next.
Yeah, that is the first real blessing I've seen this seed grant our runners. So that does open a lot of things, specifically a lot of item checks. And with the T-Pro flag on, those item checks in the Underground are going to be weighted substantially better than they are here on the Overworld. Might be able to get some of those good weapons in Cecil's hand to make him viable. Some good equipment, good armor as well can be there. So yeah, I would be going on a treasure hunting spree here if I were playing.
Doing a final bit of looting up here too. Want to make sure that you've got enough money to complete these Underground shop checks too, because there's the good stuff that's available in the gated shops, but in general, that stuff's really expensive too.
And Oscredwin threw the gauntlet, taking the rare Ordeal safety save there before going into the Kluya Shrine. Once you're through the gauntlet, you don't want to have to go through it again. So if there's something trolly here, he doesn't want to have to deal with it. Can't blame him at all.
Yeah, you don't want to end up getting wyverned and then having to fight that Fabul gauntlet again. So smart play there. Just a little bit of wyvern insurance is what I call it.
I love seeing that pan there. Nothing makes me happier than going into the Underworld for the first time with the pan in hand. Just a key item that opens up a lot of doors, a lot of checks. So that is good. The only thing I'd be worried about is Oscredwin might go back to Baron Inn at this point and try that. With the pan in hand, might be trying to get as much value out of Fabul as possible, but we know that's where Underground access is. So we'll see where he decides to go after this.
That's a good point. If it didn't yield that Magma Key, then I'd say this is great for Oscredwin, but as it says, I think it might be a little bit of a boon for Zyrek just because of what you just mentioned there.
I do want to give a shout out to the fab palettes we have on display here. The Marl Rosa and the Bart's Cecil are two of my favorite recolored sprites in the game. So shout outs to Scala Kitty for all the amazing work she does on those.
And of course, completing Mount Ordeals, just like in the vanilla game, transforms Cecil into a paladin and gives Tella his entire spell list. So this is a significant upgrade for this team right now. Cecil's equipment options are really wide. He can equip swords, knives, axes, bows and arrows, and staves. So there's a lot of different options to give him, both in the weapons and the armors. So that's kind of the flexibility that Cecil really brings to the team.
Yeah, the only issue right now is we really don't have anything good in any of those categories to give him. Now there are some decent swords that might be available for sale. I think you can get up to the Ice Brand in shops. I believe that we have to go to the Underworld for those, though. But that would make decent damage. It's some of those end game holy swords that really make Cecil shine.
Yeah, you might have to settle for like an Ogre Axe for a lot of it, but then that's what you'd really want to give to Sid too, so might have to buy two.
I wouldn't mind buying two. Ogre Axe is a very, very good item. 85% accuracy on an axe, which means it's actually more accurate than some of Kane's spears. A very, very good weapon.
Yeah, as far as the accuracy department goes, a lot of cane spears really are lower than you'd think they would be. That's why the defense sword is one of his best weapons, period. With the mighty mute arrows for sale in Agar, my personal favorite of the easily buyable arrows. Love that 4 times damage against mage, and it's just got a really solid attack stat all around.
Yeah, there are a great number of enemies that you will fight in Free Enterprise that you can take advantage of that mage type. And yeah, like you said, the high initial damage can really complement a archer that you've got. And you've got 2 potential archers in this party between Rosa and Sid. So yeah, definitely stocking up on that. Yeah, that's true. Cecil can also rock those bows and arrows as well. That's very true.
In this flag set, I doubt that we're going to be seeing like 3 Artemis bows, but in that sort of situation, you definitely consider it. It does look like Oscredwin heading back to Baron, and I think might be falling down that trap that you mentioned. Gonna try for that antlion one more time.
Now, the one advantage he has now is he has Paladin Cecil, and one of the features of Paladin Cecil is that he will automatically use the cover ability on any ally that's in the critical status. So since Antlion relies entirely on physical attacks, he can cover all of those punches. The counterattacks, I don't believe he counters. I believe those are considered special attacks. But he can use that to mitigate the damage on his team. So I put the Aegis Shield on Cecil, so he's going to be pretty bulky defensively. If you put Cecil in the back row and have him covering people, you can actually get through a lot of physically oriented fights.
Yeah, we'll see if that's the strategy he tries to employ here. Unfortunately, the half damage that Ogopogo does isn't enough to bring the characters to critical HP, so not going to get that auto cover right off the bat.
Oh, he's going for Zerg strats on Sid. That is going to do a lot of damage, but it's going to trigger a counterattack every time. Okay, he's going to manually cover Porum here. 600 damage is pretty respectable. It's going to be a lot of counters, though. And yeah, the counterattack is not covered. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't think this is going to pan out very well either.
High-level parties just like kind of laugh at the counter. But for this part of the game, that counter is a real serious amount of damage that's being dealt. And it looks like that's going to be enough to take out Oscredwin there. That Antlion proving a formidable opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And just not enough in the way of abilities that can bypass relying on the fight command here. You've got aim on Rosa, but she doesn't exactly have the gear that she needs to be a very formidable archer. Usually you would need either a high-level bow, a heroine robe, or some combination of the two. Doesn't really have either. I think she's only using an archer bow, so she's not going to do a lot of great damage with that aim command that can go through. Again, we talked about the Earth Hammers command can go through without triggering counterattack. That's about it that really has at his disposal. So he's just going to have to deal with the damage of that counterattack going out, and it just might be too much for him to handle right now.
Plus, I don't believe Oscredwin has access to the blink spell at this point either. So even if you're going to be avoiding the counterattacks, you're going to have to either keep Cecil alive for all the covering, or just keep up the healing in general from the physical attacks. And I think that's going to be tough because it's going to be a longer fight if you're going to try to do it with aim and the item. So the Berserk strategy might just be the way that could get it done. But I think it's still tough, and it looks like we're going back to the Berserk well here. I think that's going to be the fastest way to get through this fight, and if you can get it done, I think that, you don't care if anybody dies, as long as Antlion dies in this one.
Yeah, right you are. Yeah, this spot itself gives no experience. There's really no benefit for going past the finish line with all of your characters standing. You just need to be able to dish out that 4,000 damage. It's going to be tight. It's going to take a lot of healing. It's going to take a lot of luck in making sure that those counterattacks target the right character, the punches target the right characters. We'll see if he can force his way through it. He's doing a little bit of solid damage out the forefront here. I think he's done about 1,500. So he's almost at that halfway point. He's got everybody topped off. So this is a promising start. Cecil shows off that dwarf axe, just really proud of it. Wanted to make sure the antlion saw it.
If we had the option of a really fast character, that actually might be a better anchor at this point, but unfortunately that's not something we have. So we try to go the other way by putting that dwarf axe on Cecil for the lower agility anchor, and I think that's helping somewhat, but it's still tough that when you can one-shot Porum like that.
Now, I believe he equipped the dwarf axe mid-fight. I could be wrong. So I'm not sure if it's actually... Oh, he gets past the finish line. Great job by Oscredwin getting the fight done, and let's hope this is rewarding. Twin Harp, that's potential.
It is also objective number 3, so big game there. Getting the objective done is always nice. Probably not going to take Edward, and no, there's the no to the barn. So yeah, now we've got the option of music. That spot kind of has the same sort of problem as this Baron Inn spot. You're going to be relying on the fight command to do a lot of the damage because of the high magic defense. So even if you took the Tella, you wouldn't be able to use his magic for damage on that fight. And we don't have a ton of firepower yet, but it does look like Oscredwin heading to the northwest. We might get a music sighting.
Yeah, the reason I like this play is because there are a good number of chests inside of Cave Magnus, and with 2 melee fighters here that we need to kit out, we're going to be looking for gear as much as possible. This is also a gated check here, so because it's behind a key item, the level of treasure available here is going to be slightly higher than some of the other places on the overworld, so might be able to find some of these good mid-tier melee weapons for both Sid and Cecil here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Oscredwin loots this place out. And, well, maybe he knew that chest was empty. No, not interested in loot. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, just wants to get down here, at least know what the boss is. I think the quick dive here, because whether or not you're able to defeat this, you don't want to... I don't think you want to go to a place if you have to rely on the equipment in the place to defeat it, because then it's a crapshoot as to whether or not you'll get it. So I kind of like this fast dive down here. We'll know what we're getting, and then if you want to loot, you can loot on the way out if you haven't learned exit on Cecil yet.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point.
Lyrak heading to the underworld, heading over to Dwarf Castle, probably going to do some shopping checks, might take a peek at the first boss and see if it's doable as well.
And everybody in Oscredwin's party has a little bit of metallic items on them, but Rex, I think it's about time for something, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I guess it's time for DJ Spoony B's Rockin' Tunes, but I will say that Oberax was found in a shop on Zyrek's screen, and he's selling a lot of things in order to buy it, but let's listen to some music here.
And Oscredwin is through. That was Corridors of Time, one of the most fantastic pieces of music ever composed for a video game. GG getting through that fight. Vovalis is not a fun fight to have to deal with in the overworld here.
Yeah, played it real smart. Unfortunately, no progression here, just the Hourglass 2. That will force Oscredwin to head to Fabul to get that Magma Key, so at least this is going to point him in the right direction.
Yeah, it's going to be a substantial lead right now for Zyrak, though, having foregone that little dead end over from the Baron Inn. The Hourglass 2, not the worst thing in the world. Hourglass is going to be very, very scarce on this flag set, and it's a very powerful item in a lot of situations, so it's not the worst consolation prize, but yeah, you're going to wish that was progression, absolutely.
We also did get a check of the job dwarf from Zyrak while we were listening to the beautiful Chrono Trigger music. Got a nursery worker, so either works with kids or plants. So there you have it.
Could be both.
Yeah, it could be baby
could be
plants.
Very young plants. Get a look at the Feymarch chest here. Ooh, the Baron Key. That's pretty huge. That is another one of the objectives there.
Yeah, after that, I believe we're going to be very close to being able to go to go mode. We still need access to Threemus, though, either the pass or the Darkness Crystal. And I imagine Zyrak with that Tella in tow is really going to hope for the Darkness Crystal being the way we get to Threemus here.
Yeah, and that's going to mean things are going to be looking a little bit bleak here for Cecil. That Ogre Axe that Zyrak picked up might be the best weapon he's going to see, because it's looking like our 3 objectives are not going to include forging that Legend Sword. So unless we get really, really lucky on a weapon drop for Cecil, that might be the best he's got. Actually, it looks like he's upgrading him to an Ice Brand here. So believe that is the strongest sword you can get in a shop in this flag set.
And we're going to get a peek at these Feymarch bosses. Not like we're still going to scope out, because we need to do key item checks to find that Darkness Crystal or pass. I think we're going to prioritize Lower Babil and Baron Castle, because those are where we've got objectives that we've got to do anyways. But still, the information, in case we have to go back here, of knowing what bosses are down there, just really good to have that knowledge at hand, just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is either Rubicant or the Elements and a Lunar boss right there, neither of those are tempting me to try them any sooner than I absolutely need to.
The lack of powerful black magic on this team has meant that if that's the Elements fight, that could be really scary. So we'll see. Well, and Rubicant himself would definitely be scary too. So there you have it. I think both of those are going to be tough fights. And now we get to complete the Pan Circuit from Zyrak as he's heading to the Sylph Cave. So we're going to start getting free checks. I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go ahead and do the tower before going back up to Sheila, but he could do it either way.
Yeah, both are options. I might be tempted to do the Sheila first, just because, if I'm in Zyrak's spot, I'm not feeling terribly comfortable with the strength of my party. But Zyrak is also an elite runner of this game, and if anybody could do it with an underlevel party, he'd be able to.
Yeah, the stats of that boss aren't super impressive, but the HP is very high, so it's going to be a long fight no matter who it is. Just a big bomb from the Sylphs here. Those AoE consumable items, their usefulness is running out at this point. There's a few bosses in a few spots where it still could end up paying off, but they're not as powerful now as they are in the overworld. But it does look like Zyrak is going to head up to the tower next.
Yeah, I like it. It's a very bold play. Might as well give it a shot since you're down here. Looks like he's going to do a little bit of item hunting here. Might be looking for some of those trap chests, they can definitely pay off with some really good items. And I believe Sid might be able to one-shot them since he's got that bonus against mechanical enemies.
Might be waiting until you can cast Berserk on him to up that damage percentage too.
Yeah, if you can do enough damage to one-shot these, then you don't have to deal with the enemies they summon. Usually you do it by means of a character that can equip a claw and get that Thunder Claw, but nope, Berserk Sid with that damage bonus against machines is all that it takes. So yeah, wouldn't surprise me to see Zyrek just loot out the tower here. Ninja Helm is a wonderful pickup. That is a great piece of gear for a melee-focused team.
And trying to, this is like playing a little bit of a lottery. We're really hoping to see an Excalibur or something like that. Artemis bow would be a nice find as well. There's just a couple of pieces of elite weapons. Of course, the Crystal Sword is the dream.
And here comes another Berserk. Another Raging Strike from the Engineer. Another roll on the loot table here.
Yeah, can we get the double zeros on the D100 for the Crystal Sword? A White Spear would be nice if we had a cane.
That would be lovely if there was a Dragoon around, but not so much. And Oscredwin is heading into the Fame March himself. Saving outside, he might be doing a little bit of save scumming for treasure here. I'm not sure if Zyrek did the same thing. I think we were looking over at Oscredwin's screen at the time, but finds the Warrior's chest immediately. That's great. That means he's going to have free reign through all of these chests.
And a Drain Spear, that would be good if we had an edge. We haven't found that yet, so yeah, if you haven't seen the plan of just buying a bunch of Drain Spears and go to town with darting, it's a fun way to play Free Enterprise.
Now, was that a Siren that he grabbed from that last chest? Because if so, that could be very useful.
Yeah, just one Siren is enough to really kind of get your team to possibly Moon Boss sort of territory. Usually not enough to get to Threemus levels, but pretty close. And now Oscredwin's got that Baron key in tow too. So now both of them in that same predicament need to get lunar access in order to get to Threemus. But otherwise, they've got all the tools in order to get where they need for their objectives.
Yeah, right you are. Just need to, of course, find access to that final boss as well. But the objectives are all taken care of. And as the popular wisdom says, do your objectives first. Most of them lead to key item checks, can lead you to exactly what you need to move on. So wouldn't be surprised to see Oscredwin prioritizing those checks as well. And here is going to be our last trapped chest loot check here. Zeus Gauntlets, you don't hate that.
Yeah, that's a very nice piece of equipment. Both Tella and Cecil, not Tella, Cecil and Sid can use it. Now, that would be something if Tella could use a Zeus Gauntlet, wouldn't it?
The only mage that can use them, as far as I know, is Adult Rydia, which can actually get some decent damage out of her. If you give her a pair of Zeus Gauntlets, a Heroine Robe, Dragon Whip, she becomes a respectable frontline fighter.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most fun things that's built into Final Fantasy IV. That it's not kind of... This game was before there was a lot of tutorials and everything. Like, here's what you can do to build your characters. They're just like, here you go, figure it out yourself.
Yeah, no job system in this game, but if you want to turn any of the female mages into fighters, that Heroine Robe lets you do just that. It's one of my favorite items in the game, just because of how it lets you just completely flip the dynamic of a character. Really, really cool item.
We see Leviathan over on Zyrak's screen. This is at the top of the tower. Probably one that that Zyrak is going to be somewhat comfortable with completing, I would imagine. Especially if we found any pieces of Dragoon gear for Sid or Cecil, because that will give resistance to that Ice 2 spell that comes out.
Yeah. Not terribly high magic power here, so those Ice 2s aren't hitting very hard. Is really unfortunate for Cecil, though, since he's going to be using that Ice Brand on Leviathan and not doing too much in the way of damage, but shouldn't be having too much trouble with this overall. Has enough healing with Bros to get through those big waves, so he should be getting through it.
It's just going to be a bit of a long fight, as we mentioned before. This place has pretty high hit points for the stats that are here, and we're doing 500 to 800 damage with each hit from our berserkers. That's not a lot. Tella's going to be able to throw out a couple lit 3s, but it's not going to be like that's going to be the biggest single piece of damage that we can do here.
Meanwhile, Oscredwin has turned in the pan, gets the pass from Sheila. He's technically in go mode now. He has everything that he needs to finish the game. The problem is going to be getting those levels that he needs to actually get endgame viable. With no Darkness Crystal, there's no D-Machine Grind on the table just yet, but that is even more incentive to go do your objectives, get everything done, and see what options you have available for you once you hit that 3 objectives done.
This is something that I've been wanting to see in one of these races. If we don't find the Darkness Crystal either at the top of Tower or through the Baron Castle, the question becomes, is it worth it to keep doing checks until we get that Darkness Crystal to get to the moon and have access to the D-Machine Grind? Or is there going to be an alternate grind that we do somewhere else that's going to be good enough to get us to that end-game level?
Yeah, if we find the Luca key, then the trapped doors become a grind option, but... Oh, was that a cursed ring available in Baron?
That is a gated shop in Baron, and that curse ring is a huge pickup, depending on how you want to tweak Cecil at the end of the game.
Yeah, honestly, that's going to be kind of a tough call, because right now Cecil sort of represents the bulk of your damage. And, if you want to relegate him to pure agility anchor status, you're going to have to make up for that damage somewhere else. So that's going to be interesting to see how Oscredwin decides to play this.
And I believe that was a vanilla tower key from Zyrak. So going to get a free another check here. If this ends up being the Darkness Crystal, that could be a huge difference between Oscredwin and Zyrak's game.
Absolutely. Yeah, that keyless tower play always sneaks up on you. Of course, it was a little bit more tempting of an option here since the lower Babel boss is an objective. But yeah, we've seen a lot of runners favoring that keyless tower and it paying off a good deal as of late.
The elements fight here in the super cannon room means that the fight in the Leviathan spot is going to be Rubicon. So that's a piece of information Zyrak has. If we end up having to search for that Darkness Crystal, if the runners think that's one of the things that we might have to do, that's a scary proposition if the Darkness Crystal is hidden behind that Rubicon.
Yeah, that is honestly, I would almost rather fight the elements in the Fey March than Rubicon. That's just not fun, no matter how you slice it.
So Oscredwin now in the Baron sequence finds Dr. Luge that we saw at the very beginning of the race here. Not going to be a difficult fight by any stretch of the imagination. The sad thing is you often end up poisoned after this, and one of the things about the statuses of this game, the hierarchy, which helps us in certain situations like against Golbez, can hurt us here because if you're poisoned, you can't be berserked.
Yeah, right you are. Only one status effect at a time here. No stacking status effects. What wouldn't be a thing until the next game, so you got to be cognizant of those status effects and make sure you're clearing them if you want to put a different one on. Just a gold apple from the super cannon, so The vanilla tower key not really being much of a factor here, other than inflating that key item count.
Yeah, other weird things. Yang can't kick when he's floating. So
You have to have your feet on the ground to kick.
Gotta have your feet on the ground to kick.
It's a roundhouse kick, that's why.
It looks like it's a flying jump kick, though.
Well, okay, yeah, you can't do that while floating, because then you'd be double flying, you'd fly over their heads.
But that's even smarter strategy. We got the hook for the first Sheila item, and the pass. I guess we'd already seen that from Oscredwin. So now Zyrak in the same position does have to go through that Baron sequence. We'll see. We still haven't seen the Darkness Crystal. We've got one more chance here on the objectives here once these D-Lunars are defeated by Oscredwin.
Yeah, I'll...
I don't know if this spot has a lot more magic defense than I remember, but those Cure 2s doing almost nothing against these D-Lunars.
Yeah, which is very, very unfortunate, because that means you're going to have to rely on physical attacks. And when you physically attack D-Lunars, they go into their alternate script, they start bouncing viruses off themselves, and that hits very, very hard.
If you can ensure that the fire elemental of the Earth Hammer is enough to one-shot him, then you're probably okay. And here comes the Zerk. We'll see how much damage we can do with that fire elemental weakness. I don't think it's going to be as strong as the attacks against the alerts, but it's these counter viruses, or not counter, but the script that happens starting now after the wall can be very dangerous here.
Yep, and that's going to trigger it. That was not enough to kill. The second one should be. Yes, it is. We just need to get 2 more attacks from that sit-off, and we should be through this.
Yeah, now we're in the part where the D-Lunar is going to cast fire a lot. You can see the single target Cure 2. The important thing is to keep Sid alive, because he's going to be the one that can deal the damage to finish off this D-Lunar, and got through the fight. That was a tougher than I think Oscar might have thought at the beginning of the fight, but got through it really well, realized what needed to be done after those Cure 2s really failed, and was rewarded with a win here.
Yeah, really, really heads-up play there by Oscredwin. There's a second Cecil, but yeah, not interested. The advantage of a second Cecil is you can use one to anchor, one to fight with, but since we don't have any elite gear for either of our Cecils, not really a compelling option at this point.
And now we're going to be just moments away from seeing if this Baron sequence is going to give that Darkness Crystal, which would make grinding a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and one thing I really like about this seed is we mentioned earlier about how Sid can be a little bit undervalued, and that's kind of shaken out here. We've seen Sid get a lot of value out of that Earth Hammer. It's really been carrying this team.
And it's just the pink tail. So now we're in that situation. What do? Do you hunt for another key? Do your other key item checks just so that you could possibly get that Darkness Crystal? Or do you resign to grind somewhere like in the Feymarch or something like that if you want to try to do like a Conjurer grind or something?
Yeah, goodness. There not a lot of great options. Of course, Oscredwin still hasn't done Lower Babel, so is probably going to head there next.
Yeah.
Get his objectives done, but we know that that's not going to open up anything other than getting his objectives done. Still not going to have access to any really good grind spots. So yeah, I honestly say keep hunting. I would say keep hunting key items, at least do Dwarf Castle. See if you can get something out of that. But gosh, yeah, outside of that, if access to the moon is gated behind those Feymarch bosses, you might have to do something like a summoner grind in the Sylph Cave, which is a terrible idea.
If that Darkness Crystal is behind that Rubicant in the Feymarch, then you're going to have grind almost all the way up anyways. Oh, but it looks like we might get bailed out. Oscar Edwin finding the Baron guards down at in the Odin spot.
Yeah, lot of ways to deal with this, and he does have that hourglass. He's going to make use of it. Like we mentioned earlier, this is one of those fights that can completely neutralize. He can go on ahead and finish this off at his leisure. And if I'm Oscar Edwin, I'm thinking life glitch here because I want the extra XP here.
Looks like we're going to go a different route, as looks like the Medusa arrows are going to be what's used to take these out fast. No chance to do a life blind with a life glitch with the stone things, but you're going to get through this fight really fast, and so that's really nice. And if this pays off, that could be huge.
Yeah, that's actually really heads-up play there with the Medusa arrows. I'll take. Oh, and it's the Darkness Crystal. That is incredibly lucky pull for Oscar Edwin. That opens up so much. I'm beelining to Mysidia and picking that Tella up.
That is the reward. Now, if Oscar Edwin picked up both that Zeus Gauntlet and the Ogre Axe, we might do Mac Giants instead, because we've got everything that we need in order to do that really safely. It's going to be interesting because he hasn't taken that pull. He could take somebody like Rizia and level her up, slingshot her on a Mac Giant grind. So there are still options here. It's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes that choice and picks up Tella for the D-Machine grind either. That's a tried and true method. I'm not certain what he's practiced or what he's comfortable with, but he's got a couple of choices to make here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That Mac Giant grind is a great alternative that you always have access to. Looks like he's saving outside Baron and is doing a manipulation here. Could be manipulating for either one of those grinds. Without those tables pulled up right here, I'm not able to count around and see exactly which one he's looking for. But yeah, the idea here being he wants to manipulate his encounters here, find out exactly what encounter table he's on, and use that to determine how many encounters he needs to get through before he's guaranteed the grind encounter that he wants inside of the Giant. Going ahead and doing it now before picking up the character that he wants to deal with. So, yeah, that is what he is doing next before he even goes down to Lower Babel.
Yeah, might as well do that now, because if he gets the grind done, then that fight in Lower Babel is going to be that much faster, and then it's just going to be a short walk to with the pass either way. So might as well make that fight in Lower Babel take less time by already having your grind done. I guess absolutely. The counter argument is you might be able to get to the 10 key items. What's he at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he doesn't realize that he's going to get the tower key, but the tower key just led to the gold apple, so he would have gotten burned if he decided to go that and try to get the 2 key items that way.
Yeah, exactly. With you're not thinking, I'm going to go hunting any more key items than that. I'm just going to do the bare minimum I need to do. I only need to do one more check to get my objectives done. That's only guaranteeing 1 key item check. I need 2 in order to get to 10 key items, so let's forget the bonus. Let's just pretend that's not on the table and get the grind done. So yeah, that makes complete sense. Oh,
it looks like we had the wrong objective up. So it looks like Zyrak is going to find that Darkness Crystal, because it should be the Baron Castle basement, not defeat the bosses of Baron Castle. So a little bit of a mix-up there, but that's fine. So that means both of our runners are going to be in very similar positions. Zyrak should be going back in, and I imagine he at least wants to know what his foe is going to be there once he sees that. I don't know if he's got the same setup to do what Oscar Edwin did to get it done, but it looks like he's actually going into the airship, so it might be heading somewhere else first. Oh, he's going to check in that pink tail, I think.
Yeah, don't blame him at all. That's a chance at a crystal sword. It's a chance at some really high-level gear for your characters, and since you've got this melee focus, getting a good weapon, it could be pivotal here. So yeah, I don't fault him this check one bit.
Still hoping for that double zeros on the D100 for the crystal sword. We'll see if we get that. Just a white shirt, a very good piece of gear for Rosa. Can be used by Cecil at a pinch too, but Rosa's probably going to be the one. Yes, slaps that on her right away. Not a surprise. Very strong piece of gear. Looks like Oscar Edwin going to be doing a little bit more shopping. Might need to pick up some ethers. I know that they were found somewhere in the underground, but looks like it's equipment that he's looking at.
Yeah, the nice thing that the white robe in combination with that silent staff means Rosa is going to be set. If it turns out that you need to rely on her for damage, that's going to make her white spell hit even harder. So, not the worst thing to pick up. You're definitely hoping for one of those holy swords, but white robe's not bad.
This is where the Ogre Axe was sold, so looks like Oscredwin going to make that pick. That signals to me that this might be a Mac Giant grind that he manipulated for.
Yeah, those Ogre Axes going to do bonus damage against giants, making that Mac Giant grind all the easier. And looks like he's trying to find some loot in Dwarf Castle to help fund this Ogre Axe purchase. A self spell will sell for a pretty penny.
Yeah, and luckily there's a lot of loot available in Dwarf, so going to be able to raise the funds, I believe, here.
I love the idea of going to the Dwarven shop, not being able to afford it, so just looting their treasuries to purchase their axe.
Like, getting desperate to get that final 1,000. Sold one of his kamikazes, but got the powerful weapon. And so now it might just be that he wants that just as the weapon because we haven't found anything great for Cecil. Just want to have a good weapon. But I think it's telling us that it's a Mac Giant, right? But we'll see very shortly, I imagine.
Yeah, it's going to be a matter of who is picked up here in the city. If it's Tella, probably D-Machine. If it's anyone else, then he's looking for a slingshot on the Mac Giant. So we'll find out here momentarily.
So Oscredwin now at the point where he's raising the big whale. Meanwhile, Zyrak is going to get the good news that it's the Baron Guards here. I honestly don't remember if he's got that hourglass that Oscredwin had.
I want to say
I don't think
he's got it. Yeah.
It was through the music that hourglass was found. So going to use the mute bell. But the physical attacks are going to be really strong here. We're going to have to try to get a status effect off on these guards, like a toad or a mini, as quickly as possible.
Might even be going for a stone Hail Mary on Tella.
That might work too. Looks like first thing we're going to do is berserk up Sid.
Interesting. We have picked up the monk on Oscredwin's stream. That is who we're going to be power leveling. I really like this. We talk a lot about how Yang's major deficiency is his reliance on levels to do damage. And since we have not found a lot of great high-end melee weapons here, Yang can really carry on the melee side. He makes a fantastic berserker. He has a ton of HP in the endgame, so he can reliably soak one or two big bangs before needing to be healed. So yeah, this is a strong play here from Oscredwin.
I also agree. This is a smart play. Also because if you took Tella and went the D-Machine route, you'd be able to do that grind without a problem, but then you're still at a party that has Sid, Porum, Rosa, Cecil, and Tella. And that's just not a very appealing endgame party. Even if you level both the white mages up to white, you're not going to be doing a lot of supplemental damage. That's why I think this was good. I think Rydia would have been a smart choice too. But you just want to get somebody who's going to be able to do damage, whether it's Yang or Rydia at this point. I think either one is a smart choice. And this one is probably easier because you don't need to level.
Yeah, I'm thinking if he had...
as you would have to Rydia, so...
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking if he found one of those high-tier holy swords, Rydia would definitely be more appealing, since he'd have the physical damage taken care of. But since he doesn't, I really like the Yang pick here.
All right. Didn't have the one-shot stone arrows or Medusa arrows that Oscredwin had, but Zyrak through the fight going to be getting his Darkness Crystal. He has already completed the tower, so he is going to be receiving his crystal right now. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's going to be 10 key items. So if this is a boon for Zyrak by having that now, that's 10 key items.
Yeah, this is a race now. Oscredwin is the first in to start his grind. Zyrak's going to be in behind him, but is going to have that advantage of the 10 key items. So his grind will be a little bit quicker, and Oscredwin still has to go down and get that last objective, get the crystal. Post grind, though, it's going to be very, very quick to do it. This is going to be close.
The other interesting thing is Zyrak still has some flexibility on what he wants to do with his party. We might see a trip to the Lunar Dais in the Lunar Palace to get a character check too. I'm not sure exactly what Zyrak is looking for in his party, but we're going to find that out very soon.
Looting out the Baron Castle here, gets a bandana. Very, very nice pickup there.
Yeah, still not finding the really good weapons that he's been hoping to do. We've seen Zyrak looting a lot throughout this seed, because with that Cecil start, you just are hoping to get something good. We haven't seen a defense sword. We haven't seen a lightsaber. That Ice Brand and Ogre Axe are the best weapons that we've seen for Cecil, and they're good, but if you had the choice, you would have ditched Cecil with these weapons.
Yeah, right, you are. Just not a lot of options available here for our runners. They're having to make do with what they found, which is one of the things I really like about this flag set. It really forces you to adapt. You can't really rely on any one dominant strategy because it can be so variable what you end up with. This is a flag set that really rewards you for having a very, very deep playbook.
You'd kind of expect, with so many free characters available, that the C maybe flag might not really mean that much. You're still going to, just by how many characters you check, you're going to have access to everyone. But it really doesn't play out that way. Especially since if one of the characters that we're talking about is in the Giant, we've got two that are hanging out in the Tower of Zot. We've got the one in Cave Eblin that nobody's bothered to check at this point. Like, those are the sort of things that makes it so that the character pool is less than you might think.
Yeah, exactly. There are only 13 character checks and 12 characters, so any duplicate character that shows up is essentially removing another character from the potential pool, and we've seen more than our fair share of duplicates so far. So yeah, it's not as varied as you might think it is. You really have to, especially since some of those character checks aren't going to come until late game, when you might already have an established party. So once you take your fifth character, any other further checks are completely off the table. So yeah, it's something you've really got to adapt to.
This is also interesting. Zyrak raised the big whale and is setting up the manipulation, but flew the big whale over to Baron. Might have to go back to Mysidia because he still hasn't picked up that fifth character yet. Of course, you can set up the manipulation, turn encounters off, and then do whatever you need to for a while, as long as you don't get into any more fights before or do any resets before you actually do it. And yeah, he is flying back over to Mysidia. I believe he's going to pick up that fifth character. We'll see what it is.
And he's only done one fight, so either he's not done with his encounters yet, or won the lottery and got his manipulation off of one encounter, which you always love to say.
Yeah, that's always what you're hoping for. And the same decision that Oscredwin made, taking the monk, Yang, the best character in free enterprise no matter what, and has decided that with the lack of equipment that we've seen in this seed, I want somebody who I don't need to equip with anything.
Yeah, right, you are. He becomes such an attractive option in this kind of a situation.
Okay, and now Zyrak resetting up the manipulation. So lost a little bit of time there with that extra fight that he took there. Not a ton of time, but this could be a really close finish here. So this could be significant.
Yeah, every little second is going to count at this point. Both of our runners, despite the divergence, are converging here at the end of the seed. Things are getting very, very close to the end here. So little execution, things like that could be a deciding factor.
while we're setting up and doing the grind fights here, just want to take a moment to shout out our team tonight. We've got Leggy Starscream on the restream, also the owner of my favorite username in all of Free Enterprise, Leggy Starscream, and Microcorgs on the tracking. Without the two of them, we don't have a show, so thank you very much for doing this. Also want to shout out the Random Mania Network. Been a terrific partner throughout this event. Just thank you for letting us put our show on your channels.
Yeah, just a huge thank you to all of our volunteers that we've had. We have 3 races going on simultaneously tonight, all of them being broadcast with commentary, tracking the whole shebang. And that's just been fantastic. We've had just so much community support with regards to volunteering and getting so many races in this tournament broadcast. So if you have ever volunteered for Free Enterprise, thank you so much. If you're interested, make sure and hit up our Discord. We're always taking people in to work on the restream team or just to teach the game too. So yeah, thank you very much, and hit up the Discord if you are interested.
Looks like the manipulation done over on Zyrek's screen, and he is now going to go to the Giant for his fight. I imagine he's set up the D Machine because he's got Tella in the party, but it could be either one, I guess.
Yeah, the Mac Giant grind is, it's a very, very good grind, but it's always going to be like the secondary one, the one you do if you have to do it. If you don't have access to that weak spell, if you only have other means by which to get through, then you'll do the Mac Giant grind. The D Machine is kind of preferred. It's the more efficient grind. When you've got Tella with access to that weak spell, you got the Ethers to keep him going. The D Machine's only going to use percentage-based attacks, so as long as you keep everybody topped off, he's not going to be a threat. You don't have to constantly keep people blinked up. Just a better fight in general. If you can do it, you might as well do it.
It's the grind that's used in the vanilla Final Fantasy IV speedrun. The Mac Giant grind is something that's kind of come out through the community as an alternative to the D Machine grind.
Thank you for that, Zoe. And the grind continues here, throwing out those Thor Rages in order to do minimum damage to the Searcher. Has very, very high magic resist, and Thor Rage has a very low damage coefficient, so that's a good way to make sure you're doing low enough damage that you're not threatening to kill it and end the fight, and thus your grind.
And also guaranteeing that you don't miss. Trying to hit that Searcher with a mage with a staff, you miss so often.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you'll probably notice that Zyrek has moved Tella to the center position of his party. The reason for this is, as Rex mentioned earlier, the perk character in that center spot gets a bonus to accuracy. This is necessary when you're doing a D Machine grind because you do not want to be missing with those weak spells. If you miss a week on a D Machine, he's going to get so many more turns. He's going to get so many more of those flame spells that do percentage damage, and it can turn your grind sideways at an inopportune time. So always make sure you're keeping Tella there for every bit of accuracy you can get.
Yeah, and Tella's stats are not good. So unless you've got like the high-end gear, you've got your Stardust Rod, your Sorcerer Robe, your Rune Ring, you don't want a chance. Just put them in the middle. Not argue, even if you do, still put them in the middle. Don't leave it a chance.
And Zyrek using that life glitch even on the beam enemies there, just eking out every little bit of experience he can from this fight.
You know, if you know when they're going to go down and you've got the life potions, every little bit of experience is going to help here. You see that curse ring doing work for Cecil on Zyrek's screen. When you've got elemental resistance and the curse ring on at the same time, it turns into elemental absorption. So suddenly that Dragoon gear plus the curse ring means that that flame attack that the D Machine does is actually healing Cecil, so he's not going to die in this fight. And so, in case something goes wrong, you've got a backup plan of getting out of it with Cecil.
Yeah, the only way you would see anything different is I believe D Machine does counterattack with a punch. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, if so long as you're not attacking with Cecil, he's effectively immortal at this point.
Yeah, I mean, as a backup plan to resurrect your other characters.
Yes.
To get it done. Like, him swinging with the sword is probably not a good idea.
Absolutely not. And Oscredwin has got to be getting close to the end of his grind at this point. He has been at those Mac Giants for a while. Haven't been keeping count of how many he's done. But yeah, going for another here.
Well, he might be, making sure of what he's got here, because without that 10 key items, it's definitely going to be a longer grind than we're going to see on Zyrak's screen. Also, I believe D Machines give more experience per kill than Mac Giants. So you've got that a couple of hurdles, and so it's going to feel a little bit longer.
Yeah, and he still has to go to Babel after this, so depending on how long this takes, every second that passes, Zyrak is inching closer and closer into the lead here. So this is really close, but until Oscredwin gets out of this grind fight, he's losing ground.
Yeah, these grinds. This is what this seed, or what this event. You're going to see this a lot in the table flags, whether it's the Mac Giant version or the D Machine version. I think these are going to be some of the most popular grinds that you see in this event at this point in time.
And that's also one of the risks of the Mac Giant grind compared to the D Machine grind. You can see in Oscredwin is it's a little more ambiguous unless you're very closely counting damage as to when to actually use those lives to get the life glitch on there. You can see him using a few lives on Mac Giants while they're still alive. And that's because with the D Machine, you're just using that weak spell. You know that the next hit is going to kill the D Machine. Mac Giant, you don't have that luxury. You have to get through all of its hit points, so you might be off one or two, and it's just going to waste a little bit more time. Speaking of which, Zyrak is done with his grind. He is ready to go. He is going against Threemus now. Nothing left in his way. And you can really see the difference the difference of efficiencies in those grinds really paying off here.
And the 10 key item is a big part of it too.
Absolutely, yeah. You're 100% right there. And this is how these different routings can really, overall change these strategies here. Oscredwin going into this before finishing it off, but that would have given him, a key item in the crystal, the 10 key items he needs. Of course, he wouldn't have known that he's guaranteed a key item up there, but yeah, it's ending up doing his grind first might be what costs him the race.
Yeah, I had mentioned earlier that he would have been burned if he did that, but I wasn't accounting for the crystal itself, which does count as a key item as well. And so that would have been the 10th key item. So he wouldn't have gotten burned. He would have gotten that 10 key items. And his grind would probably be over by now, but he would have had to spend the time to go to the tower at this point. So yeah, we're just Zyrak is heading over to Toria, and we are about to end this seed.
Yep, going to turn that pass in to get access to what was formerly the VIP club, but is now just a teleporter to Threemus. And doing a little bit of last-minute item shuffling here, getting everything set up. Looks like, wow, level 59 in that Yang. He is going to do a tremendous amount of damage and have enormous HP pool to boot. That is big.
Yeah, Yang is going to be the main puncher in this fight. We never did find a great weapon for Cecil, so he's stuck in agility anchoring mode. But now Oscredwin is done with his grind too. Ooh, looks like early 50s for his level, so that should be very nice for him. Looks like he is just keeping a base level Yang. We might have to ask him about that. I'm not sure about that one. But it's an important time now. It's time for us to ask a question. Do you want to ask it, Snapey?
Oh, I would love to. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
That's right, everybody. It is butt time. We are on to Threemus, who, of course, will have the same script as he does in the vanilla game, but will have a spicy palette, or sprite. Well, then that sprite will have a spicy palette. I'll stand by that.
Oh, it's a head sword from the last arm chest. That is a huge pickup for Cecil. All of a sudden, he catapults forward in usefulness.
Yeah, very good weapon found there. Nice pickup by Oscredwin by picking up that random chest there. That was a real lucky find.
And the crystal is thrown. The true form of hatred.
I believe that's
Threemus. And let's hope Zyrak is no chicken wuss and is able to get through this fight. If he wipes at any point here, all of a sudden Oscredwin is back in this race. He has got to play this perfectly in order to keep his lead. And the Threemus fight is a fight that can go sideways at any point.
Watch out, or Threemus might tell you about a romantic dream. But yeah, we're seeing the huge damage already being dished out by Yang there. That grind did a body good there. And then Sid's going to chip in some damage here. We've got 3 characters who can do decent damage to great damage with the Berserk, and then you're just going to be able to heal up with that Rosa at 2400 HP. Outside of the very, very low chance of a extremely high Big Bang or the always dreaded Big Bang into Medio, she seems to be fine. Even so, the astronomical HP pool of Yang is probably going to be enough to carry us through anything.
Yeah, Cypher probably thought he was showing no mercy with that Big Bang, but unfortunately for him, it was indeed nerfed. So not even doing enough damage to take Tella down, so he's able to contribute just a little bit more in this fight.
Those level gains on Tella paying off as he actually gets to survive a Big Bang for a change.
And look at that damage that Yang is doing. That is, ooh, that's so nice.
I think Threemus might have more of a chance if he had Fujin and Raijin with him.
Look, we can't change Threemus into a multi-target fight.
But as it stands, I think Yang is just going to be knocking him silly. Really, really strong punch magic here. Now the non-nerfed Big Bang proven too much for Tella, as it's time for him to take a little nap on the floor.
And get another shake. I believe we, with the amount of damage going out, we have to have moved into the second phase at this point.
I imagine so, but here's another Big Bang. But Rosa always ready to get that Cure 4 up right away. Yeah, she has that white shirt too, so she's got very good magical defense.
Yeah, the white shirt and the Silent Staff is going to skyrocket her willpower, which not only makes her cures and her white spells much more powerful, it's going to... all of this damage is pure magic damage, so she is going to be very, very good at resisting rolls from it. There is the black hole, so we're going to have to reset some of those berserks unfortunately, and we're going to have to do it manually since Rose is the only one that can do it.
There is the single target nuke, which means we are in fact in the second phase of the fight. We've gone past the HP refill. That is to be expected when you do a Zerking strategy, but it's good to know where you're at any point in the fight.
I'm not sure where Cypher drew that nuke spell from. We don't have a black mage in this party. Must have junctioned it earlier. Anyway, we're setting the Berserk on Yang here.
I imagine he transformed a playing card into some spells, so...
that's the smart way to do it.
Now, Oscredwin did get that tower key, but has completed the final objective that's needed to get that crystal, so he's going to be in that Threemus fight very shortly now as well.
Yeah, he's going to have Cecil rocking that defense sword. It's going to be doing a lot of damage there. And hopefully, if he sticks in it, look, there's the Meteo. Looks like with the HP totals that Zyrak has, should be able to survive this. We're in the last 12,000 HP. And we might see one more Meteo. No, we will not. That punch is enough. Zyrak gets the flashbang boom. GG. He picks up his first win, going to 1-1 in the table round. GG's to Zyrak on a well-run race.
Big GG's to Zyrak. Gotta feel good to get that win after, unfortunately, taking a loss in the first one, but making up for it here with that clutch win.
And I believe we are joined by Zyrak himself. Zyrak, congratulations. How did you feel about that race?
Sorry about that. I will answer any question you want to ask me as long as none of them are why did you do this, because I am not going to have a good answer for you.
All right, I'll try to tailor my questions appropriately. How much of a sigh of relief did you make when that darkness crystal was down there at the Odin spot?
A pretty big one, honestly, because I was really wondering what to do. I didn't think I could get anybody to the relative agility number to try any low level stuff. So I was really worried if that didn't show up. I mean, I almost certainly would have done Dwarf Castle. And then from there, I don't know, maybe I would have been self-committed to doing Twin Harp, which I think was the only thing I had left, other than Feymarch bosses, I guess. I don't know. If both Baron Basement and Dwarf had not had Darkness, that would have been... Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you.
Well, you'll be happy to know that we don't know it was a Dwarf Castle, but behind the Twin Harp was an Hourglass 2, so probably not what you're looking for a grind.
I couldn't find anything that I was looking for. Like, how many chests did I pull in the higher tier areas looking for anything better than an Ice Brand for that set?
Oh yeah, I was it you that went looting Dwarf Castle to afford another Ogre Axe?
I don't know if Oscar did or not, but I cleared out all the trap chests in Tower for that specific reason.
Right. Yeah. Which ended up working really well. You get a Zeus Gauntlet and a Ninja Hat out of that, which really wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't. The Ninja Hat especially wound up being useful because of where Cecil's agility wound up after that D-Machine grind. I needed it to get over the 28 threshold. I mean, I did have one Siren I pulled out of there too, so like I could have fixed that if it was a big problem, I guess, but yeah.
So what was because you had a couple of choices for characters to fill that fifth slot. Was it just the idea of slingshotting that Yang that was the most appealing for you?
It was either going to be him or the Rydia, and I had the gear to deck the Rydia out, and maybe the Zeromus fast fight would have been faster if I had just done double reflux strats with the Rosa and the Rydia. I was very 50-50 on that, which was going to wind up being better, but I figured the 6,000 HP Yang and the 2,000 something HP Rosa, who was also decked out, was just safer, and it probably wasn't going to be a whole lot slower.
Well, it turns out that Sid and Cecil were actually kind of holding their own in that fight. I mean, Yang was blowing everybody out of the water, but you were able to get some additional berserk damage from them, and it wasn't insignificant. So,
for sure, yeah, they were mostly there to clog the queue, but yeah, the chip damage certainly does add up for sure.
So this puts you to 1-1 now in the table round. It's got to feel a little bit like a relief to get that win after unfortunately taking a loss in the first one. How are you feeling right now in the event?
I did not feel great throughout this entire race. The beginning of this seed was not good. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Between loading the seed and starting the seed, and when I matched through them at the beginning, I never once looked at my objectives. Not once. And I realized that like 2 minutes into the seed, I was like, I'm going to have to check that track menu at some point because I actually have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was just complete airhead stuff all over the place, like forgetting that you pick the Sid up before you do that fight. Like, just stuff like that all throughout the entire seed. I was like, if I lose this thing by anything less than 5 minutes, I have literally no one to blame but myself. So I definitely feel fortunate to have gotten this result, and it is definitely a load off my mind.
Yeah, it was a very close one. Definitely watch the replay later, but basically what it came down to was you did all of your objectives before your grind, so you hit that 10 key item threshold, and your grind was short. Oscredwin did his grind before going into the Tower of Babel, so he had a much longer grind. In fact, he started his before yours and ended it afterwards, and that ended up being one of the deciding factors there. So
yeah,
the routing helped you out there.
For sure. That is the one thing I try to keep consistent seed to seed, and I was glad that worked out in my favor here.
Well, any final thoughts on the seed or the tournament overall, or what you're looking forward to going into your third race?
I mean, my goal was to make brackets in the first place, so that's already been achieved. So this is all gravy from here for me. I'm just gonna try to keep playing hard and see if we can how far we can push it. There's so many people here who play this randomizer at such a high level, and I'm more of a generalist. I play a whole bunch of different stuff, so I don't focus on free enterprise all the time. So being able just to hang with the folks who are in this is great for me, and I'm just going to keep having fun with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Zyrak. Congratulations on your win, and can't wait to watch the third race.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks a lot to both of you, Smithy, and to Rex for doing the commentary, and for Leggy and Micro and Randomania with helping out with the restream. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Take care, Zyrak. And that was Zyrak, our winner today. Moving on to 1-1 here in the table round. And he'll be up in his third race, I believe, sometime in the next few days. So definitely look forward to that.
If I can pull that up here, if we've got that scheduled yet.
Yeah, while Rex is pulling that up, we do have Oscredwin going through his Zeromus fight here. We do see that top Horum, 1840, is a little bit low on the HP side, so definitely within range of getting sniped by those big bangs. You can see they're being put down to double-digit HP. Thankfully, though, does have that two white mage setup, so Rose is able to easily cover there, and the two white mages actually lets him get the berserks reapplied very quickly after the black holes go out.
Yeah, it looks like Zyrak's next scheduled match is against Xenocat on the 10th, but he doesn't have all of them scheduled yet, so we might see him earlier than that.
Awesome.
And just for the record, Oscredwin's next one that's scheduled is against Izatayama on October 9th. So we'll be seeing both of these runners again very soon. Not guaranteed that they're going to be restreamed, but a lot of these races are being restreamed in this round because now that we've got fewer races overall, a higher percentage of them can be restreamed, and that's been really fun being able to bring that to everybody.
Yeah, and a lot of people stepping up to the plate, especially a bunch of people that have been removed from the tournament are deciding to hang on by volunteering for it too, which is awesome to see. So we'll get you as much free enterprise action as we can.
And it is free.
It is indeed. You don't have to pay anything for this action.
Unfortunately, Porum has fallen over on Oscredwin's side. Not strictly required. Cecil, Sid, and Rosa should be able to do everything, but if you've got some time, you might revive her up.
Would you see that nuke? So we are in the second phase here. Probably Sid is exactly who you want that nuke to be targeted on. He's got the HP to spare.
Yeah, that Mech Giant grind did a wonder for Sid's HP total, that's for sure. Unfortunately, doesn't gain the attack strength that Yang does through that big grind. So he's doing a lot less damage per cycle than we saw Zyrak do. But his survivability is very good at this point, I'd say. And it looks like we are trying to revive Porum, so might be able to do a little bit of extra work if we're able to get some whites off. Rosa a little low on MP, though.
Yeah, she has been doing the lion's share of the casting here. Do have a single ether to throw at her. Not going to restore too much MP, but should be enough to get across the finish line here.
Sid, of course, always useful as a chemist, able to throw that ether and let Rosa cast again. And here comes another big bang. But Rosa ready with that Cure 4. We'll see if Porum survives this one. Ooh, a little bit too high for Porum.
Yeah, that is rough. It seems, I'm not sure exactly what agility that Cecil is at, but it seems like this is a particularly fast Threemus. That combined with him having trouble getting those Berserks set back up, so he's not able to clog the queue maybe as efficiently as Zyrak was. This is proving to be a more difficult fight as a result.
Having 3 Berserkers rather than 2, I think, was also in Zyrak's favor.
Absolutely. But we're just relentless with those big bangs. I don't believe Oscredwin, and correct me if I'm wrong, traded in that pink tail for the white shirt, so his Rosa not as high on the willpower front as Zyrax was either.
Yeah, this is tough. We see the Cure 3 come out because the MP just isn't there right now. Got to do something. Hopefully we still have some ethers that we can throw at Rosa, because we also just saw another black hole, so we have to think about re-upping the Berserks, or just be at the point where we might have to just swing.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit dire. Yeah, Rosa's reduced to actually throwing items at this point. So you got to be hoping you're close to that Meteo phase, so you can finish this off.
Yeah, and we see the attack commands come out, because that's what you got to do in this case. It's just 1 MP on Rosa.
Yeah, unless we are close to the last phase, this is looking pretty dire.
And it looks like there are no ethers left in the inventory either. We see the Cure 3 come out. Want to make sure that Sid survives this next big bang that comes, because we don't have a whole lot else going on. And we see the crystal being moved up to the top.
Oh, he's going to try to...
He's a little late on this nerf, though.
Ooh, that's unfortunate. That means he's going to eat the big bang and a counter nuke from using that crystal. I don't blame him for trying it, but boy, you got to hope this nuke hits Sid. I think he's the only person around that can take it without going down. And no, it's going to be Cecil. And now, even if you do push him into Meteo, you're in a really bad position.
And we see the shake here. I think Oscredwin was thinking, like, is it Meteo phase, in which case I might have a chance, or is it another shake, which means I'm going to have to do another big bang, and I don't think I can do that. and we see that long look that that I think all of us have covered has happened when it's you've been going at a seed and you just got this demoralizing loss to Threemus.
And it looks like, we're getting a message from our restreamer here. Oscredwin has decided to forfeit here. Completely understandable. It's a very heartbreaking loss to Threemus that far in, and your opponent's already finished. Can't blame him whatsoever. Make sure you give your GGs to Oscredwin in chat, and we'll see if we can get him in here and talk to him a little bit about this race. And I believe we are joined by Oscredwin. Oscredwin, GG. Heartbreaking loss there at the end, but how did you feel about that seed overall?
I felt like I was constantly making wrong decisions. I came into the table stage as an underdog, and I figured I had to make some gambles. And basically, none of my overworld gambles paid off. For music, an hourglass, and for an early in, none feel too hard.
Yeah, it was, they didn't pay off, but your execution throughout most of this race was really on point. And, when you go back to watch this race, you were actually neck and neck with Zyrak for most of the time. Really what ended up being the deciding factor was Zyrak did the Tower Babel first and went into his grind with 10 key items, whereas you did your grind first and without the 10 key items ended up taking longer. That was really the big deciding factor. Then other than that, you were really matching him, point for point there.
That's really good. I'm really looking forward to watching the VOD.
Yeah.
I deliberately did my grind before Babel because I knew that there was a chance that there would be a really rude boss up there, and I was feeling incredibly behind at that point because like Baron in and music. So, and fading Fabul hard until I had to do it. And I wanted to just have to overpower that boss really bad. And then it turned out to be Leviathan, so who cares?
Well, not to mention, your team was really lacking firepower while you were making those gambles. Like, you were using everything that you get. You made really good use of that Earth Hammer throughout really the entirety of the seed. Just being smart of when to use it, but that Sid, Dark Knight Cecil, and the other options, you had Porum and Rosa. You didn't find a great bow early. Like, you just didn't have offensive options in the early part of the game, and we never until you got that defense sword out of the last arm chest, which was a great pull, by the way. You were even Cecil was lacking.
Yeah, I was feeling really weak throughout the whole seed. I committed to it. The first gamble I made in the seed was deciding to do a Mac Giant Ride before I even started. When I saw Porum, actually, I figured 3 offense, 2 white, double white mage strat. The objectives were really fast. Just get underground and find the Baron key. And I thought this was going to be a very fast seed and and it turned out to be actually pretty fast if you routed it well. But so I grabbed Porum early. It looks like Zyrak didn't grab Tella instead, which was probably a better move. And then because you still get the 2 Zerkers, but you get all the extra Tele utility. But
that was
no
offense.
That was the
big difference of party, yeah.
But no offense. But both of us had to deal with that pretty evenly. I held on to the Mazamine for a long time, hoping to bump into an edge, but that didn't happen. I've had to sell it. And yeah, I'm glad my execution is getting better. Maybe next time I'll gamble a little less, and we'll see how things go.
Yeah. This is still just your first race here in the tables. You still got plenty more to go. How are you feeling about your matchups going forward? And you mentioned the gambling. Are there any other adjustments you're looking to make? What's kind of your outlook on the rest of the table?
I'm proud. I regret having not having a good enough strategy against Antlion at Baron Inn. I spent a lot of time on that. I don't regret the Dark Elf, going for early music. I think there's
neither did chat. I'll let you know.
And it was a Chrono Trigger song.
Oh, it was so good.
It was amazing. I really thought, oh, great, this is one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite games. This is good luck. Clearly, this is going to be like a Magma Key in Darkness or something. Or Magma Key behind the Dark Elf. And like everything's going to be great. And that's going to be wonderful for me. That did not work out. But my strategy has been commit to a team and commit to a grind. As early as I can, because in practice that's usually what's wrecked me. So this grind went pretty well, except for one part. There was one small problem with my grind.
And was that Yang at the end?
Yeah, that was Yang at the end.
Yeah, it's happened to us all. Don't worry.
I'm pretty sure if I had picked up Yang at the end of that, and I went into the Z fight with a level 60 Yang, that would have gone really smooth, and I would have only been a couple minutes behind. But as it is, that was not a Z fight I wanted to do.
Gotcha. Well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing you in the rest of the table round here. Good luck in practicing for your upcoming races, and can't wait for the next one. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
That was Oscredwin taking second place here today. His first loss of the table round. That's going to put him at 0-1 going forward.
Yep, so big shout outs to both of our runners, also our restreamer Leggy Starstream and our tracker Microporgs, everyone at the Random Media Network, and everybody who's been working on this event so far. We are going to take you to Direwolf 813, who's doing some practice. Hope you enjoy that, and thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks very much. Take care, everyone.